Okay, so let's move on now for the last hour of the show to talk about the topic of the evening. We've got two, if we can. But today, as I stated in the in our Instagram, we are going to be, or I am, with the help of my friends, we're going to be responding to Berkeley Breathes, his article, Ethan M. Long Annotated, who our producer MJ has pulled up on his end, so he'll be narrating and leading us through this discussion. But basically, for full backstory here, I wrote an essay a long time ago. I added stuff to it when it released, but 2-3 weeks ago, I released an essay about what I call the bold, colorful trouser. Little point of history. I debated in calling it the bold colored trouser, but I felt like that doesn't sound right.
Okay, yeah.
Color. But yeah, I call it bold, colorful trouser. And I did say it before, so there's a lot of. It's not really weather specific. It is, because I have bold colored corduroys in there and everything. But I wrote about it. I wrote about like the connotations I have with it. How in my head I likened it to the purple and mustard and red colored skinny jeans I would see that my friend Vincent would wear all the time. And so it was like, well, in my head, it's more of that than like preppy because I don't live around preppy people. So I didn't see guys wear Nantucket Reds outside of like fucking Tumblr photos of where these like, and maybe from Fred Castleberry if he ever came on my Tumblr. What's the Tumblr the front page called, MJ? I don't even remember what it's called.
The
dashboard. The dashboard. That's it.
The shoelace warehouse.
Yeah, narwhals.
Like the Discover page or something like that.
Yeah. So I wrote about it. I will hear specific points that I've also, because I wrote it and I just forgot about it. Just like with clothing, you put it on and you forget about it.
Forget it.
But Berkeley Breathes, which is a great account, by the way. There is no ill will here. He did not. He took issue initially on his story about how I called it bold, because, to his credit, people did wear it a lot back then. You see in like even in 1930s Esquire, I even included it. There's guys wearing like red pants, yellow chinos in there, and so that was kind of like his point. And then he wrote an even bigger response afterward with 35 points that we will see if we can. We'll see if we can get through that in the the next half hour to 45 minutes.
Like a modern day Martin Luther.
I was about to say it. The theses against me. But yeah, we're gonna be getting into it. MJ, don't forget to take a picture of this so I can put it on the story. But yeah, we're gonna dive in. We're gonna look at this, and if you guys have any comments back, we will certainly get to yours as well. If you have any responses to Berkeley Breeze. Again, also, he told me that he was writing that, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, I'm writing this thing." And then after said, "Yeah, it's cool." And then like 10 minutes later, it went up. So he had it ready.
Okay,
so
he wrote.
I did.
Do it anyway.
And so I also I tagged him in this, and obviously again, like I said, there's no ill will here. Like I don't think like he wasn't being mean, or maybe it's a little passive aggressive. And this isn't passive aggressive either. But we're just having it's just I wanted to write something in response to it, but then it became a different essay, which you guys will see. It's more about like the audience of the blog. So I was like, you know what? I don't feel like writing another one, like, talking about like his points. So I'll just do it as a little VOD here for you. But yeah, MJ, while I do this, you can maybe read a little bit or go.
Okay.
Go,
well, can I just get right into it? Point number 1.
Yeah, why not? I mean, again, so we put the link there in the chat if you guys want to look at it. We also put it on Discord if you guys want to see it. But yeah, go for it while I post this.
So he has 32 points total. So
we'll get right into it.
So starting from point 1, he says, "I think Ethan makes a structural error right away by aligning the preppy go-to-hell trouser with brightly colored skinny jeans of the Hot Topic variety. I'm not saying a connection can't be made between these two things, but I think that connection would depend on a deep dive into the two cultures in question and an examination of how much either was positioned from the outside or inside as a subculture, and how these pants were a signifier or not of that identification. That work isn't really done here.
3 out of 5 on this section of your essay, Ethan.
Apparently, yeah. For those of you who don't know, I would suggest you read his really great interview with Put This On. We can learn a little bit more about Jonathan, and the account he has. I agree with. I mean, I only had Christian Chensfold's essay on it on Go to Hell Pants, and I haven't read the original Tom Wolfe book that this is a part of, or this whatever Tom Wolfe wrote about Go to Hell Pants. It definitely makes sense, right? Like, you've gone to hell, and so you're wearing this because you're not at the office, right? And
but also I'll say about this point is he's describing something that's just never, that kind of analysis you don't really do.
What do you mean?
The kind of the deep dive into the two subcultures in question and an examination on how either was positioned, whatever. That's not something that you do on your blog.
That's academic standard. That's quite a few levels above what Ethan likes to do and what Ethan has all the rights in the world to do. Really.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really about. I mean, again, maybe I need to read this from his standpoint, because again, we all, and I've talked to him about this. Like, we both come from very different backgrounds. He is a New England English teacher, and I live in the greater Los Angeles County of SoCal, and I am Asian. So I've never seen, I think I said this before we started. I have never seen a preppy person dressed like an inherent prep, like a traditional. I've seen people try and do it in a postmodern sense, and I think he, even in his Put This On essay, he says that at this point, most people who dress preppy or Ivy or trad are postmodern because you have to make the conscious decision to do it, which I agree with. It's very intentional. But yeah, like you said, Spencer, I don't really connect those two things. It's more about I connect those two things in my mind, because it's if you are signaling, if a prep is signaling that he is not at work, or he's gone to work and he's on his off time now, to me it's well, Vincent, my friend, doesn't want to wear blue jeans because he's cooler than blue jeans. He wants to wear red jeans, And MJ and Spencer have met Vincent. I don't know if Spencer has met Vincent when he was in this mode of dress. But to me, there was this idea of well, it's just not the regular pair of pants. And that was kind of what I was trying to approach it with. And the thing is, it's not just that they're different, but he's wearing them as if they were just regular pants. And hopefully that is what I was trying to approach it with you could be wearing chinos, but instead now you're wearing pink chinos or red chinos or Nantucket red chinos, That's kind of what I was trying to do.
Speaking of Nantucket Reds, that goes into the second point.
I know this one. I remember this one.
To me, it was kind of I don't know if I'd say it's a real point. It seemed more of a nitpick, but a khaki and Nantucket Red may be made of the same chino twill. That's what you wrote in your blog. They aren't. Nantucket Reds are or should be made of canvas or sailcloth, while khakis are made of cotton twill. I mean, that was just kind of a correction, right? So
I mean, he's probably right.
He's not.
Again,
he's
we live in
probably
Southern
right.
California. He's right about this, but the only place.
Well, it also depends. I mean, if you're talking about the original Nantucket Reds, yes, but then I feel is it? I feel like I've seen that at J. Crew where they call it a Nantucket Red. You know what I mean? Or
it might be
it's technically in
colors,
the style
something.
Nantucket.
The style thing. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have capitalized it to make it that way. It's a common version. It's not Xerox, it's Xerox, or
Kleenex
or something. Kleenex. Yeah, brand dilution. Yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, I
don't think
I know my
mom
mom.
A whole lot on this one person. There's a lot
that
of
one's
points.
not.
It's 9:15.
And I think overall also I think I mean his critiques are valid. He's not.
I mean, he knows more about the history of Ivy clothing than either of us. So yeah, some valid.
Which
critiques.
is funny. It's funny. So we were talking. We were talking about how I was going to make this video, and he said, even he's he also doesn't know a lot either, because he's like, I didn't even know what a drop 6 was, and I was surprised. But hey, sometimes people don't know that. There are things.
Again, like, I have no, I like the account a lot. I have no bad feelings towards him. But he posted something about like 1920s menswear today. I'm like, oh, we could do something. We could do like a whole reputation.
yeah. We'll jump in now. Thank you very much.
This is our thing.
Here's Berkeley Breathes annotated.
Yeah.
Here's our
he does know early on he did say something about how, when we talked about OCBD, like he said, like, oh well, like, we cannot say that like Clark Gable is trying to address trad when he was doing it. And I'm like, I don't think I said that I meant that. I mean, I guess maybe you could infer it from like my very general stories, because my stories are much more like, I forget what's in my essay sometimes. So sometimes I might make a different point that the essay's trying to make in my stories when I recap my essays. But it's like one of those things where, like, I mean, we're both technically correct, but maybe like the approach is like just different. But let's see what's next. We have a lot to get through. Let's go.
So on number 3, so in your post, like I've said before, tailoring and trad attire in general were what most guys wore all the time, at least up until the 1960s. Then he says, this sentence brings up a question for me. How does Ethan define tailoring? The common noun definition would be the result of the verb clothes created through the activity of tailoring by a tailor. I'd argue that the majority of men did not wear tailored clothing through the 1960s. If Ethan is using this word to mean more formal menswear, he may be correct, but it's pretty unclear. This is a downfall of a lot of menswear, or should I say #menswear writing. It's only written for people who are already immersed in the specific conversation at hand, not a more general audience.
So I think
it's these sorts of discussions that attract the general audience, isn't it? Isn't this just so entertaining?
I know, right? No, I think he's correct. I think maybe I should have just used like classic menswear and trad attire, or what most people wear. I know I've been accused of very general terms all the time and twisting them to what I want them to mean. That is not a new critique that I have had. I have been said to me. But I mean, yeah, I'm just basically referring to OCBDs, ties, jackets, and everything.
As he kind of says, I mean, there's no like dictionary of like menswear terms that's like universal. All these things that people talk about on blogs are all just made up, and you have to like read a bunch of different blogs to really get the full definition.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
why
that's just that's hard.
Yeah.
I've been quite acerbic in my remarks so far towards Berkeley Breathes, and I guess I should say I guess I do agree. If I were to approach it from a logical perspective, I do agree with this and a lot of things he's saying, but it's just pedantic. If you take a step back, it just seems unnecessary. And also, if we also go down this pedantic rabbit hole, what he says that a majority of men do not wear tailored clothing because tailored clothing is clothes created by the activity of tailoring by a tailor. Isn't that all clothes? Tailors don't just make suits.
You're not wrong.
Tailors,
you're not wrong.
Tailors make casual trousers, windbreakers. So it fails there. But also, when Ethan was using that word, he hits the nail on the head in the bottom third of that paragraph, where he speculates that Ethan is just using this word to mean more formal menswear, as opposed to specifically tailored clothes created by a tailor, which is right. So why can't he just run with that, like a normal person?
Yeah.
And he has to focus.
He gets the context of it, and he just kind of, I don't know.
It's one of those things, right, where you have to.
Ethan's meaning it in a broader sense, not a dictionary by the letter. Very, very unquestionable by the book sense. He understands that, but he still has to attack it. It just seems conflicted, this argument.
I get it. I mean, it sounds like it. What this reads at is that he's going through it point by point, as opposed to like a response completed done afterward. I mean, I don't know how he wrote it. I'm curious, Jonathan. You can DM me how you did it. but yeah, I mean, I'm vague. It happens all the time. But what this point has that I connected to was the whole men's writing is only written for people immersed in specific conversation at hand, not a more general audience. I don't know if that's the downfall. I think that it's by design, right? Like that's literally what hashtag menswear writing is about. Like it's not. I mean, maybe if it was for like the Rob Report or something, right? But at least blogs in general, I definitely disagree that blogs need to be accessible. Like I think that at least traditionally blogs were super niche, right? Like when they first came out, they were, and it only was during the when you were introducing like monetization that it had to be more general, and then where the issues of being vague can be an issue, but I don't care. You guys will read that in my essay. Let's move on to number 4.
Okay. Quote: workwear and other sportswear is often mixed in, but they were much more informed by tailoring rather than casual for casual's sake. Again, I'm not sure what tailoring means in this context, but I also think we have an avant lettre usage of workwear.
But anyway, I guess. But
Sure.
Christ.
Whatever.
Throw in the French there. It's more official.
Of course, it's
here
a
that
phrase that
further
means before the
muddies
letter.
the issue.
Yeah.
If we're talking pre-1960s, then most workwear is just that, wear for work. In that sense, it was not casual, it was workwear. It was different from a jacket and tie, but you could just as easily make the argument that the tie was casual wear for a man who worked in a factory all day wearing coveralls. This seemed like another issue with a lot of menswear writing. It's so grounded in menswear that it can lose sight of the actual world and history which those clothes existed. Workwear means one thing in menswear, another thing outside of it. This passage shows both meanings intersecting, but not in a way where they are clearly explained and reconciled.
Yeah, I mean, this one is the article's not about workwear.
And
yeah,
also,
I mean, but yeah.
Well, I think if we were to generally define the two issues he has with you, one is you not using terms correctly according to what he thinks the proper definition is, and also you presenting concepts in a way that cannot be logically proven or have logical flaws in them, and this falls in that latter camp, I think, where it seems to me that he's taking issue with you not establishing what workwear means to you, to the audience. But why is it necessary to go in that level of detail? I think most of the audience can infer quite reasonably accurately what Ethan says with the words that he's been using thus far. For Berkeley, I suppose it's not enough, but it should be enough. It's one thing I haven't been able to reconcile.
I mean, I'm just yeah. I mean, I agree with you general, and both of you guys generally. I mean, and
and I agree with Barker too. Like what he says about a jacket and tie, you could easily make the argument that a tie was casual wear for a man who works in the factory all day, wearing coveralls and boots. Sometime in the past, presumably in the 20s, when.
Well, when I was writing this, I'm thinking of like chore blazers, where like it's a chore coat, but it's clearly influenced by what a business jacket would look like. There's lapels, there's the pockets in the same areas. Chore blazers usually have 3 buttons instead of like the 4 or 5 that a regular chore coat or denim chore coat would have. That's the I mean, that's in my head. That's what I was referencing. Like, yeah, well, these things are informed by like, business wear. They're just made of like, the details are casual. Maybe it's like a squared edge instead of like a rounded quarter. There's no structure to it. Stuff like that. There are obviously changes to make it workwear, but I'm saying, but like I believe that there are definitely connotations to quote tailoring or menswear, right? Like work shirts still had spear point collars, and buttons in the same places. I mean, yeah, they might be made of chambray or denim. Yeah, they might have like the kind of reinforced seams and everything, the side gussets and the 2 pockets on the chest, but it's still like, it looks like a business. I mean, if you're taking a very general look at it, it looks like a business shirt. It's not like, it's not like I don't know, like a t-shirt or something. It's like it's not a radically different design. That's the point I'm trying to make here. and it's a very quick point because the idea again for this essay was that like casual wear is just supposed to be business wear or formal wear, just made like something is changed that we make it casual. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like these bold colored pants or you know, or whatever, go to hell pants, whatever, aren't like a radically different design. It's not like you're wearing a windbreaker, like an Arc'teryx windbreaker that is totally different than like a pea coat. You know, like it's not that. It's the fact that like a chore coat looks like a blazer. like I'm making that connection to it. But he's not wrong here. I mean, if you look at like, you know, like overalls, that's not connected to anything. So obviously not all workwear or all sportswear is connected to business wear or like tailoring. So yeah. Okay, number 5.
Okay, yeah. Move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah. So you say
he's just agreeing with me.
When you said this, it's the same overall garment but a bit louder. He's talking about the go to hell trousers. He's I mean, he said he liked the point, right?
That point, yeah. I mean, that's basically what I just said, right? About like, you know, it's the idea that these clothes are just the same thing, except there's something about it that makes it more casual. But I don't mean to jump you ahead, but I did open up the thing too. But number 6, he has an issue with me saying colors are a great way to separate the formal from the fun. That's where I'm like, I don't know, man. You're saying you want to wear purple pants? Like I'm not in Maine. I don't know what it's like to be there, but I'm pretty sure like if I wore purple pants to the office, people would notice that more than me wearing a spear point collar. I bet you that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But here, number 7, MJ, you can summarize this one.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll read the quote that he like is analyzing and then whatever.
Yeah.
So you're right. Prep seems to be the casual relative to trad, and he has 2 main problems between your usage, I guess, between prep and preppy, and what's the difference between trad and English menswear of the same period or non-Ivy aligned American menswear. He says your terms are used too slippery and used too easily. That you'll kind of like lose the meaning. You'll have to define it every time you use preppy trad.
I'm gonna say it's like porn, right, Spencer? You know it when you see it. you know what's preppy when you see it. You know it's Ivy or what's trad. And the thing is,
it's porn on the stream.
Nope.
Yeah. Ray Black. Anyway.
Hey.
And again, why do you have to have such a specific definition here? The term is too slippery to be used easily, so don't use them. Is the implication? I mean,
I think it's interesting because I think it's weird because he's saying that I think he's implying that I'm using it to define things. So if I'm going to do that, I need to know what the original, like, I should have a more concrete understanding if I'm going to be using them concretely. I think he gets into it later where I talk about it, where he mentions like Tucker Carlson or something about being preppy or
made up, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say right here, Jonathan, I use these words whenever I feel like using these words. Obviously, there's going to be an issue because I don't use them like hardline either. Honestly.
Definitions change.
I mean, for a bit of context, I have had arguments with Ethan on semantics and definitions in the past. And
we know.
Yeah, as everyone in the Discord should know. So I am more aligned with you, even though I seem to be attacking you with every other word I say. I'm sorry about that. I don't want to be too.
Yeah, it's no problem. I mean,
the thing is, though, Berkeley, you're really hung up on.
Calling him out.
Yeah, on having Ethan define everything in a way that is unarguable, where there's no ambiguity whatsoever, like what you were saying earlier about. By workwear, do you mean workwear like knit ties workwear as they were in the 20s? But no, but people, you need to have more confidence in people. I think that people can fill in the gaps, and I think the modern understanding of workwear, you wouldn't have a person be confused by and think that Ethan was referring to knit ties and chambray spear point shirts when he's talking about workwear. The modern definition of the word is probably quite close to what Ethan was thinking of when he used that word in the sentence that he wrote. People can fill in the gaps. I guess it would be nice to have no ambiguity, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, I assume again, this is assuming a general audience, right? I'm assuming who's reading this. I think MJ's reading this. Like that, and MJ is able to fill in those gaps.
Yeah,
MJ. I hope so. Yeah.
And people beyond MJ will be able to.
And MJ didn't catch all this stuff. MJ's doing a bad job.
Yeah, Barkley, you need to have more confidence in people's ability to fill in the gaps and not get led astray.
I think
definition. People can jump. People can.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of the whole theme of the whole thing. Where, I think we talked about in Rule of Cool, Spencer, where it's like we can't really tell you at the end of the day. You're gonna have to decide if we're gonna be cool or not. Like we can't do anything about it. But let's move on. I'll do number 8 here. He's saying, he's saying, my quote of, we've had plenty of other influences coming over the years, like wearing workwear with sport coats. He's saying the word of influences is kind of a bad one. I agree. Maybe I shouldn't have used that word there. It doesn't really make as much sense as I thought it did.
This is
but yeah,
like he's just pointing out that you don't have like a dedicated proofreader. Like this is all that this boils down to.
Even when Spencer looks through it, he doesn't look this hard. Like he's just
in order to get this level of detail, I'd need to like print it out and go over it with a pen. And all of Ethan's articles are like fucking like 7 pages long. I don't want to do that much paper, man.
Oh no, they're more. They're like 7,000 words. There's a lot. Even permanent style has. Even Simon said, like, I don't read. Simon said, yeah. Okay, number 9. This is a big one. This is a good one about his view. I guess I can take it because I'm looking at it. I said the ideas of rep stripe shirts over instead of plains chosen over plain shirts and OCBDs over stiff spread colors is happening. And I'm not surprised that bold trousers are added to the mix, so it's still pretty rare, despite of how common it was in the past. I know he's talking about my grammar here. I know it's a very long sentence, and it's confusing. I don't think it's confusing. Like if you say it out loud, I think you get it. Like these things are happening.
Out
loud? That's how I write it. So maybe that's it too, right?
That's the secret. It's like, you're actually you're not going to your local library and having the guy read it out to you. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, come on, guys. That's what you're supposed to do with the blog the entire time, is it not?
Yeah, every local library has a man who reeds out his blog posts.
Yeah, he's a dedicated, a little bit of rest guy.
Yeah.
And so if if I said this to you, I think you'd get it, right? I'm not wrong here. Where I'm like.
The meaning comes through. Grammatically, I agree with him. I think it is a bit lengthy, but why does Barkley feel compelled to tell you about it?
He's an English teacher. Yeah. He's an English teacher.
Exactly. In there.
So specifically, the ideas here is that the rep stripe Oxford rep stripe ties in Oxford CBDs aren't ideas. So the idea is something else. The reason these items are showing up more regularly now, and that isn't explained. I don't have to explain to you what's happening, like in front of you, right? Like you can look on Instagram and you'll see it, right? Like people are wearing rep stripes and not plain like silk ties, like in menswear. People are wearing OCBDs and not spread collars. Like I don't have to explain to you historically that when you go on the even if you go on our explore pages, you'll see that. You'll see like Italian guys wearing these over like business attire. These things that these things are happening. And secondly, from his in-depth examinations of Ivy, bright colored trousers are not really evidence at all until after the official Preppy handbook is published in 1980. And when they're wearing costuming settings when the wearer seems to understand their connotations, supposed to stereotypical Preppy clothes. I don't know why he brings that one up. But again, like it's not really about like the prevalence of it, because again, I don't see that in Los Angeles. Like I'm not, so like that's the kind of the main thing here. Man, these next second ones are long. Maybe I should just do these.
Yeah.
Number 10, he says, perhaps revisiting the attire of the privilege in a semi-ironic way is how classic menswear will survive in a world where business and formal attire is seemingly at an end. I sure hope not, he says. This is just me poking fun at the future of menswear essay, I think. I'm not sure if I wrote it at the time, but I'm just saying, like, hey, maybe business attire survives as people are appropriating business attire, kind of like how we appropriate vintage. Like we have no overt connotations to it. I think he's just talking about how he doesn't want it to be ironic. He says that sincerity and earnestness is the only way to engage with the exclusionary history of clothes. And wearing everything with ironic distance is both annoying and preventing you, the wearer, from ever seemingly truly at home in your clothes.
I don't think that either of us are particularly ironic dressers, and this is I don't think he's
talking about us. I think he's just talking about generally.
I was going to say he's talking about the essay and not you, but it's like he's bringing up all these points that, like, I don't think that I don't think that you've ever, like,
it's too
shown,
it's reaching a little bit.
Like you're too into it, maybe, at least from the.
I see.
The quote that he cites.
Yeah, it seems like he reads way too deep into things and then gets mad when they're not that deep.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, yeah, he's reading. Jonathan reads into it, and he definitely wishes I extrapolated on certain things, which is fair. Which is a fair point to have. I think.
I don't think there's a problem with him reading too deep into things.
I don't think that. Yeah, there's no problem with either one. I don't. Yeah. I think I agree with this point here. I think Spencer and I think that being super ironic, we don't want that either. That's not.
Yeah, like I said, I do not dress like ironically.
I mean, I think there's a difference between irony, right? Irony and a loose connotation of something. I think there's a difference between those two modes of
just
dress.
Like being aware of it, like when you do the sweater over your shoulder, you're like aware of the connotations, which is different. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the context.
Is that right, bro?
Yeah, in like 1977. Like, would they think back then? It's like, oh, I'm such a preppy douchebag right now, or they just
yeah. Sorry,
I mean, if history repeats, there must have been, if not preppy, an equivalent of that word, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just going to be. We're the context in which we're addressing is much different than the original context or the context of someone.
Yeah, it depends on what you define irony, right? Like what level is it ironic? Is it? To me. I mean, I don't want to. Again, this is just me making random definitions of things, but I think for irony, there has to be a sense of like kind of humor or like making fun of it when you're doing it. I don't think we do that, even though it is like self-referential. There's that level of derision. I think maybe is the best way of putting it. That's just me. Okay, number 11. Red pants are an unusually welcome match for a monochromatic top block. It removes the prep angle yet singles it at the same time. Oh boy. And he goes, again, without defining these terms, I'm at sea in the argument. I'm unclear how red pants specifically remove the prep aspect of wearing colorful trousers. Couldn't go to hell pants be red as much as any other color? Or are we saying the top block is what changes the look to be less preppy? It's unclear. I mean, I think when you look at the outfit, it's clear that it's not overtly preppy. Like, I think the outfit I'm wearing with this is like a white shirt with a houndstooth jacket and a beret. Like, for me, this whole thing was like, maybe that's not monochromatic top block. Maybe I'm wearing like I don't know. Let's just say, for example, I'm wearing like a denim shirt with a hopsack blazer or something, right? I think that when a regular guy sees red pants, like if a guy saw Andy Bernard, any of Andy Bernard's outfits, you'd be like, that's preppy, right? Just like I've worn red pants out with a button down shirt, and they'd be like, yeah, that's preppy. But then I'm like, well, I'm not wearing an OCBD and a brass button blazer, So it's like, it's that aspect where it's both at the same time, but not really. You know what I mean? And I think we do that. I mean, that's kind of a common thing Spencer and I do, right? We're like, we wear a blazer, so it's like formal, but not really, because you're not evoking business attire or something, right? So that's kind of the thing I'm going for, at least.
Ethan, and this sort of ties back to arguments we've had, sort of. But if you just threw in, I think red pants are unusually welcome, etc., etc. I don't think you need to have a leg to stand on.
Add a thing to your web. You can add it into your article. Like, here's who I'm writing for. It's like you can imagine a hypothetical. I think in front of every sentence.
Yeah, because the whole issue is you can't objectively define. Yeah. So yeah, it seems like his argument here is that Ethan did not objectively define how red trousers remove the prep aspects of wearing colorful trousers.
Yeah.
If you just made it subjective, it all goes away.
Well,
and
this
Ethan never talked about, and I got hung up about this with Ethan
for Slouch
before. No, about being a subjective opinion, but without it being clear. Like you're not saying I think, you're just saying button harm, like if button disharmony is bad, as opposed to
good versus bad. Yeah.
And Barker's getting hung up in a similar way, I think. But just know he's speaking subjectively, and it's impossible to define it subjectively anyway. It's so.
Well, okay, so this is a good. Yeah. This is a good analysis of what he's saying here, and I definitely agree. So I've said this before, but I like it when people recognize that the whole thing is a bit, right? So I don't think I have to tell you that these are subjective opinions, because I think if the fact that you're reading it, you should know it's a subjective opinion, and if you can't think that, then that's not my fault. It's just like me with like Comedy Bang Bang, where the entire idea is that the whole thing is a joke. Like Scott Ackerman's like he's just doing his thing,
joking around, man.
He's just goofing, and it's like, and to me, if someone doesn't realize that means the whole thing is funny. And so with this one, it's like I just assume everyone reading this, anyone reading my stuff should know it's an opinion, because. Okay, it's not a history book, right? This is not a periodical. This is like, it is not a newspaper. It is not a scholarly piece. It is a blog. I feel like if you start analyzing people's tweets for facts, it's like, oh, well, is Krispy Kreme donuts the best one? Tell us what your rationale is. It's like, dude, it's a fucking Twitter account, man. Like, it's not. Yeah, and I don't have
strange
feelings.
that he's to hold blogs and tweets and Instagram stories to an academic level of logic. It's just they're different.
It's a little.
Not everything's a.
Jokes for different folks.
Jokes for different folks.
It's the internet, my man.
Not everything needs to be at the level of a dissertation.
Yeah. Well, that's English teachers for you.
But so let me go into here. So he says he doesn't like the number 12. The bold trouser is truly an investment. Maybe that's not the right word. Maybe it's like maybe the right word would be. I don't know. I don't even know what the right word would be. But he's saying a bold jacket can be calmed by somber trousers, but a bold trouser is instantly recognizable, especially once you take off your jacketing layer. Didn't I say the bold monochromatic top block was a good balance? I just good balance. I said it's a welcome match. I think match means that they can work together, but I don't think that means it's balanced. Like, just because you can wear something together doesn't mean it's balanced. Does that make sense? That makes sense, right?
But it's like before, right? If you see it, you get it when you right. It's like
it's like that thing. But I mean, like for me, it's like I think that they can go together, but that doesn't mean that they are equal or that they are like they cancel each other out. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, most people also notice bold pants, I think, more than a jacket, right? Like, wear a plaid jacket, yeah. When you wear a plaid pants, like that's a big one. That's crazy, bro. And I would be very hard pressed to find a regular person, at least in LA, who would probably wear a bold jacket more than bold pants. I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying that definitively, obviously, because I don't know. I haven't sourced 100 people and for Family Feud. But yeah, number 13. He's just talking about my grammar. It's just a weird sentence. Yeah. It's fine.
Number 13 is basically your grammar sucks. That's it.
Yeah, what is it here? I get it. Bold, colorful trousers are a tough sell. They're too formal in design yet dandy in color. I should have said and dandy in color. Well, whoops. I'll fix it later. Number 14. Oh, so here's a preference one. I personally think that bold, colorful trousers are different than plaid or tartan trousers and critter pants, which I actually think are easier to wear. I definitely think plaid trousers are easier to wear than bold colored trouser because you can wear black watch pants, but would you wear purple pants? Like,
Yes.
to be, I mean, like, yeah, obviously you, Jason, you would do that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
For myself, I'd wear neither.
This is
No.
our Joker origin story right here.
Joker too.
Yeah.
Joker.
Yeah.
It's all
First
subjective
degree
at the end of the
is
day.
the Joker.
It's all subjective. I just don't understand
Number
the seeking of objectivity when.
Yeah, number
in
15 is
subjects are
weird
subjective.
here.
Yeah, well, we live in a society.
It says once you've done a lot of mixing in selvedge denim, military chinos, wide leg pants, going bold is naturally the next thing. Here's like step-by-step philosophy of learning how to dress well. These aren't steps. I don't think I called it the steps where I'm like, oh, the next step is this, but I'm saying like naturally you're gonna find yourself like, oh, I've done this stuff. Maybe bold pants aren't as bad as I thought.
So you're just
right? Like
saying
this
is what my experience was. Chances are you might have something similar.
I feel like that's
Or
the entire
it's-
blog, right? That's the entire blog
right,
as in a nutshell.
It's like
You know?
this is my progression, or like how.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if I said this, like maybe if this was a gamer thing, like maybe Scott should come in here, right? If I said, oh, you're playing Call of Duty, you play Valorant, maybe next you play like a JRPG. I don't think you should. I don't think that there is a step-by-step thing of learning how to be a gamer. I don't like that. It's like, well, maybe that's just the natural progression of how you get into things, Like, I mean, I'm not saying that you have to, like, no one's saying that you can't just skip to JRPGs, but maybe you need exposure therapy first, to kind of get there to that stage.
Japanese RPG.
Yeah, so it's more like it's like literally all in like what's a good example, MJ? Like Fire Emblem or something?
Chrono
Yeah.
No, that's
Trigger?
not-
Is that like
Chrono Trigger?
Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
So it's just an
Yeah.
RPG in Japanese.
Well,
But
they're
also like more
Japanese.
like
there's specific like style and like nuances that are like.
so he says, I'd say you're more likely to learn how to dress well by taking huge risks of color and proportion in the process of trying what you love. I'm inclined to agree with you, but people still need to be told how to wear white socks. So, like that's again, I wouldn't be writing this if people just thought, oh, well, I can do white socks, because people need to be sold on it in order to do it. I mean, I'm not trying to like say that you have to do that to dress well, but that sometimes some people like the idea of it, but they need to be they need like an example of it to be done. I think in the permanent style, which I don't think we have enough time for, but one of the things said, oh, well, why do you need to be eased into white socks? And I'm like, because people don't get it. Like, I think people kind of like, everyone goes, oh, I love the look, but I couldn't do that for myself. It's like, okay, you like it, just do it. But you need to find out. You need to find out what that means to you, right? Like, so that's why I say things like, oh, well, try, it might help if you do cream socks or wear the white socks with denim instead of like a wool trouser, because maybe you'll be able to find a way to get there. I obviously wear white socks with everything, but if MJ was coming to me for the first time, I'm not going to tell him, dude, wear the white socks with a suit, because he's not going to get into it, right? The same thing with my friend Adam, but he might get into it if he's like, okay, well, why don't you try it with like military pants first and see how you feel with that? So just like here, where maybe, I mean, some people might just go straight to bold pants, but some guys need to know what like wearing Levi's 501s are first, like they can't, some people aren't built for that. I don't think, again, it's not a step-by-step thing, but this is for the people who, like me, I did not jump into purple pants. I had to go through this whole thing. So like someone said, odds.
You had to go through your Jokerification.
Exactly. If you also have jumped into a vat of acid, maybe you'll like the purple suit too.
Exactly. That's what's gonna happen.
I'm gonna skip number 16. He just says, "Yeah, nothing's for everyone." Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Skip.
I'm just saying something general, and he's also saying something general. Okay, 17. Man, I say it's a fun challenge if you're an advanced dresser in classic menswear. And he says the advanced dresser calls back to what his point was about step by steps. He doesn't know what this means. He looks at yearbooks all the time, and some of the best outfits I see are in little kids. Are they being good clothes by the parents? Blah blah blah.
Obviously, yeah. He just answered his own question.
Yeah, that's pretty much the opposite of menswear. He assumes intermediate and advanced dresses where the ranking is determined by. It's not super clear here. Is it awareness of menswear history? Is it the ability to pull off different things? Obviously not, because Mark Cho can pull off things, but it's not called an advanced dresser here. I'm curious where Ethan would place himself on the spectrum. I'm also curious where you have to be on it to tell others how to dress well. See, again, here, this is not about telling others how to dress well, and I think this is the biggest issue I have with any critique of my blog, where it's assumed that my goal is to be well dressed, where in a like a societal sense, where it's supposed to be, I think you should be well dressed to hit the idea of yourself in your head, which I think Spencer and I have talked about plenty of times on the podcast. It's not. It's about being well dressed to you. Yeah, so advanced,
cool.
Yeah, an advanced dresser.
Somebody else should wear it.
Exactly, and I think advanced dresser is what I consider to be an advanced dresser. Where like I think Mark Cho is good, like he says here. I would have called Mark Cho advanced because he doesn't do as crazy stuff like Tony Sylvester or Ethan Newton.
I mean, I think it can be both, because
yeah, it's true.
What I was going to say is I think an advanced dresser is someone who is interested in clothes and can look as like natural as someone who does not give a shit about clothes at all.
Yeah, I agree with Spencer's definition. And I would call Mark Cho an advanced dresser, because if we are to say people are advanced based off themselves, essentially, how true they are to themselves, then Mark.
I mean, we've seen his dashing tweed suit, right? So, like, that's that's a callback.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, there's like a certain when you start dressing, there's a point where you're dressing and everyone can tell that you're trying really hard, and once you get over that hump and start looking like a normal person again, that's like when you've reached the advanced stage. Yeah, that's how I would personally define it.
Yeah, reach nirvana for yourself.
You just got to look like a normal guy.
Yeah. So the next one he says here, every decision I make seems to be calculated from the outside the self rather than motivated organically from within it. That's wild, because the whole thing is calculated organically from within me. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is just like a different point of view on number 18 here. He's saying that he says, all of Ethan's analyses are outward facing. Where do our own feelings about what we wear and our comfort in the clothes come to play? I think that it's impossible to do that, because at the end of the day, like Spencer and I say, sometimes you just think something's fucking cool and you wear it. And so the only thing to really analyze is how it looks to other people and how you see it from the outside, as in like, okay, what do I put into a concrete or a not so concrete distinction? Like, we think it's cool, yeah, but is it Ivy? Is it workwear? Because cool isn't enough, right, Spencer? Like, it's not. Usually, we tend to like have an aesthetic that we go after. I don't think when we do that, it's like calculated into other people, but it's a little bit of both, maybe. Because when it comes from us, we really can't say, like, when it really comes down to it, we just like things because we like things. Like, I tried my best to define why I like button pocket harmony. I could say it's design, it's about being equal in the lines, but as we discussed at length in the stream, I just like it. I can't tell you anything more than that. I can't calculate why I like it. I mean, I can try, but yeah, it's just it's emotional, you know. And I think the whole blog in general, obviously, I don't know how much Berkeley Breathes has read of previous ones. This might be the first one he's done. But it is like, I'm trying to write and convince myself of my own emotional feelings. I mean, that's probably a good analysis of my own blog, I think.
It's a journal.
It's a journal, yeah, and I'm trying my best to distill my ideas onto paper in a way other people can maybe understand.
Yeah.
If you don't get it, it's fine, but we try it. 19, he wants me to dive deeper onto why I think skater style is like classic Americana. I think I mentioned that in the 70s article, where like the original skaters wear like rugby shirts and like loafers and stuff in like the 70s, and like sneakers and everything. That's what I'm referring to. So yeah. number 20. Number 20 is a big one. He says, I'll be honest, I think it's super annoying to me that Ethan's entire image of Preppy seems to be Rob Lowe in Class. I've never even seen that movie. I don't know what he's talking about. It's a super simplistic.
So I can sort of connect the dots. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a super simplistic 2D version of style, and if Ethan is distilling that down even further to use as a foil of other aspects of menswear, we end up with this little nugget of Preppy that doesn't have any depth or substance and doesn't contribute to one's larger aesthetic than a quick cliched shorthand. I get that Ethan doesn't want to associate himself with Tucker Carlson, but his desire to distance himself from that version of Preppy gets in the way of having a clear-eyed view of what the style may be other than a narrow definition. John F. Kennedy was a blah 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 rich asshole. Reductive stereotypes of the Preppy brings up an even more obvious question. If preppiness is just rich assholes, why would you want it in your arsenal in the first place? I feel like that's where the irony thing comes into play. Like, sometimes you just want to do it, and the other thing is, hey man, I've never met yeah,
he's kind of accusing you here of having this impression that Preppy equals rich arsehole Tucker Carlson.
Well, honestly, that's how it is in Southern California, because we don't have any preps, dude. Like, all our preppy, all of our this is like, if you live in Southern California, all your knowledge of like prep shit comes from pop culture. Newport Beach is not Newport, Rhode Island, okay?
Especially a person of color from an immigrant family, obviously I know we all know what he's trying to say here, but again, even my mom's definition of preppy came from the Preppy handbook. She is a literal, no one in the 70s around her in Montebello, East LA, Boyle Heights is gonna dress like that. She got her idea from it of what preppy is by looking at J. Crew catalogs and reading the Preppy handbook. I wish I still had her copy. I don't know where it is. It could be just be gone by now. But that's just what it is.
Yeah, so it's directly answered the question near the end. If preppiness is just rich arseholes, why would you want to use it? Why would you want it in your arsenal in the first place? Well,
I don't know. I think sometimes it's kind of fun to pretend to be a rich asshole. Like, that's sometimes I just want to be a scumbag.
Yeah, and what I'd say to that is, I like the look. It's unfortunate, I suppose, that it has that connotation. I'm wearing it, I like the look.
Well, I mean, even sometimes it's because it has the connotation. Like, if you're in certain contexts, it's not very often, but if you're like going out to say a party and you want to look like it's. You
I've said this before. There is a small part of me that wants to dress like Grindelwald, dude. I want the fucking jodhpurs and the leather thing, and wearing a embroidered vest with like a German overcoat. I don't know what. It's just fucking cool. I mean, I would love to look like a dark wizard. Like, it's just. I mean, again, we try and get into this, I think, in authenticity, because it's just sometimes you just like something and you just make it happen. Like, I mean. We're not going to pretend that being authentic means that you have to love every aspect of it. It's sometimes you really just want, and again, the younger you are and the further removed of the context you are from the original thing, you're only going to be able to get what the popular definition or what the popular culture defines of it. Right. Like I think there was one time where I talked about how when I was wearing my P3 lenses, I was like, oh, I look like an architect. They're like, oh, well, architects were the only people who wore those. Everyone, I'm like, okay, yeah, but when I watch a fucking sitcom and a guy says, we're gonna go to a party and I'm gonna pretend to be an architect, that guy wears a turtleneck and those glasses, and that's what I remember from Friends or I don't know, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or whatever a sitcom has a guy who's like, I'm Art Vandelay and I'm gonna be fucking wearing these glasses. That's all we have. I'm sorry for being 25 and not being exposed to the entire world of fashion.
Right.
But yeah. Okay. He doesn't like that I call yellow khakis and light wash denim also applies. I do think they're both colored trousers because some people don't like wearing yellow khakis. Some people that's too yellow. Some people don't like how blue a Wrangler jean can be. And what more knowledgeable advanced understanding of dressing does. I guess he's just wondering about what exactly advanced dressers are. I can't tell you what it is. You just know it when you see it. I mean, it's again advanced to you. If you think you can't do it, then it's more advanced, right? Like that's what we said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He agrees that I like Tony Sylvester. He does talk about how I say that it's almost as if they put it on, forgot how wild it is. It's a very skater punk mentality. He says that skaters and punks are very conscious of what they wear. I don't think I said that they didn't. I think you can be conscious of what you're wearing, but you can just like wear it with nonchalance, right? Like I think when we get dressed, we clearly put thought into it because we're not picking clothes out of like a dark closet, right? There's still thought about it, but you can still wear it by just, like, oh, it's cool. I decided to be bold today. I am aware that I am bold, but I am not making it go, look at me, I'm bold, I'm strutting around with my fucking orange pants here.
I take my pants off if I do that. I want people to look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, is preppy being used to mean rich asshole or rebellious irreverent youth? Either can be true, but it's hard to juggle both at once. Is it? Yeah, I was gonna say, is it hard?
Juggler, so I
Yeah.
can juggle anything you give to me.
I can so much.
I could hold
It affects-
chainsaws on fire, juggled.
And, yeah.
It affects the understanding of the more specifically sartorial argument. I mean, yeah, I guess so. If you're like reading this like on paper, right? Like, I mean,
And I'm
one of
reading
those
it on the
things.
computer.
So
yeah, point Spencer, right?
Yeah.
It's another instance of Ethan. You have to
he-
explain everything down to the very last detail with no ambiguity. Or
I'm just assuming. I'm assuming that you're smart enough to just get it, right? Like I think you just if you're reading
bold assumptions there, Ethan.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fault.
If there's even one iota of information unclear, I do not understand what
brain
you're
over
saying.
here.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we get Berkeley on here so we could just talk about like
let's get
the differences of stuff. Like I'm curious exactly how common this stuff is amongst his circles. I've never been to Maine. I don't know or wherever it is, right? Like I don't know if people really do walk around and wear. Okay.
They don't. They can't.
Thank you.
It's not possible in 2021. And I think it's more an academic background. And is Henrik here? Because he's also from those circles, right? Should we bring him?
Yeah, I'm curious. Maybe we'll have a short thing
seems to
at
me
the
like
end.
he's used to an academic environment where things really are proved to that degree, where people really are that careful in framing their arguments and making sure there are no ambiguities. And it's from that lens that he sees Ethan's writing as deplorable. It's from that lens that he can't stand Ethan's writing. That's my 2 cents, my theory anyway. Is Henrik?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll revisit this. I just want to quickly get through this so we don't go too far over. Yeah. He says that no, he doesn't think any of the bold colored trousers seem bold. It's not bold in color; it's bold in choice. Right? Like maybe I didn't make that part clear, but again, yeah, purple's a dark color, but are you gonna wear purple pants? Like I can't even MJ and Adam aren't gonna do that yet. You know what I mean? Like there is still that.
Look at MJ's hair. What does that say about bold?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where I guess he's right here. He puts bold colored trousers, but the title of it is bold, colored trousers. So it's like they're bold, colorful trousers. It's not a bold color, but that's my bad. Maybe if I didn't do it every single time. But yeah, he doesn't think I talk about weight and texture enough. I don't think it's. He says that go to hell is technically certain, like technically a certain type. Like he thinks that when I included Maxwell's outfit of like tweed and pink cords, it doesn't count as go to hell because go to hell for Wolfie and stuff is more spring summer. How does that alter?
That's Barkley's opinion, and Ethan has his opinion.
The idea isn't that it's technically go to hell. I mean, I'm just making that connotation. I'm not saying that I don't think any of my outfits are technically go to hell outfits. But I make that idea of like, well, it's me. it's inspired. Oh yeah,
You want him to go
speak
kill
of the devil and he shall appear. He doesn't like that I put a full suit in there. I just like it because it's a bold color. It's a picture of, I think, Alex Winchell of the Armory back when he was wearing a purple suit or pump suit. I says here. I says that I think a bold color trouser. A bold color trouser is appropriate across any season. I definitely think I still think that's true because you can wear orange chinos anywhere, and I've done it with tweeds and a hopsack jacket. But I do think that I bring up the point how menswear guys wear white jeans and cream linens all the time, so it's just a natural impression of, okay, well, that's white, that's like it's almost like black, it's the absence of any color. So bold colorful trousers is going in the direction of just wearing that, like that stark contrast but with color.
That Tony Stark contrast.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're kind of agreeing here. Let's move to 28 here. There's sometimes there's definitely, I say there's restraint in how Ethan Newton and Tony Sylvester wear theirs, because they're not wearing, like, they don't look like Andy Bernard. Like that basically is what I'm saying here. He's saying that I'm saying go bold but mute them, make them more palatable. It's rooted again in Ethan's anxieties about preppy asshole connotations. If preppy R, I wonder what the R stands for actually. Preppy R McAsshole the Fourth, great name by the way. Wears super bright pants. Ethan is determined not to be preppy R McAsshole the Fourth. But then I can't say wear super bright pants. I don't think it's the fact that it's not about bright pants. It's about colorful pants. I think that's my point.
I think what he's saying here is that you're conflicted. That you
seemingly conflicted.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you are conflicted. I'm saying that he thinks you are conflicted. Again, it's subjective.
I think it just depends. I mean, semantics of what he considers bold, right? I mean, I don't know. MJ Spencer, did you think I meant like a bold, colorful trouser, like the color it's bold, or that?
I don't know. It was kind of ambiguous. I understand why he made the
boldest of trousers.
Or that assumption.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's not wrong, but I mean, ambiguity is literally what I do all the time.
I'm a master of ambiguity.
It's like you text a girl, what are you doing? But then there's no other emojis because it could be a innocuous, what are you doing? Or it could be like, hey, what you doing, baby? But you leave it there and then you let them respond.
Just like fuck the readers of your blog? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, hold on, Spencer. I'm not gonna answer that. But if they wanted to, maybe I'd be so inclined.
Slide in those DMs.
How ambiguous.
By Max.
Ethan, okay, so it's number 29. Ethan is super hung up on the navy blazer with brass or gold buttons. Wow, I like how he. Well, I guess I did say it previously. As a super preppy item, he thinks I think it's super preppy. It's not central, but the whole attitude that strikes him as being limited by the mainstream perceptions of anything that's tailored as formal, thinking that Ethan wants to push himself against. You don't have to be Sean Crowley to know that navy blazers predate any conception of preppy. And if Ethan feels like the popular sentiment has turned on the navy blazer and irrevocably associated with Tucker Carlson, it's weird that he doesn't include this in the stuff to push back against.
I don't think Ethan thinks that way, and Ethan can confirm or right.
Yeah,
I think or deny.
It's. I mean, again, I live in California, so anything. I mean, you don't have to be Sean Crowley. But if I walked up to if a dude walked up to me in the streets of New York and goes, "What's up, prep bitch?" I wouldn't be surprised if I was wearing a navy jacket with red pants. I feel like the chances of that happening are not zero. Like it's not. I mean, I don't know, Jason. Do you think that happens?
Jason, I hope you're taking notes because when
can you make a hat that instead of saying punk rock it says prep bitch?
I would actually and wear it.
Wait, Jason.
Yeah, Jason has to wear it when he gets to New York.
Jason, please make that hat. Please, I think that is. Yeah,
I was thinking about doing a punk bitch hat, but prep bitch sounds cool too.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah. I just think it's weird. I mean, obviously, yeah, I know that, and Spencer and I and MJ and everyone, we all know that jackets existed before prep was a thing. But we can't.
Actually, I don't
help
think that.
it.
I think that until
the
prep
cru-
was a
is the-
thing, no one wore any layer other than
No, no.
shirts.
Well, they're not Jason's dad, are they?
Oh my
No.
So
god.
the crux of
not
the
my
argument
dad.
in this particular paragraph is that Barkley thinks the navy blazer is not an inherently prep. It does not scream preppy. Is that what he's saying here?
I think he's saying. I think he's. I mean, I don't want to use the word offended, but I think he takes issue with the fact that I think that people will assume that it's preppy. And again, I can tell you, that is like it'll happen. It'll happen. I mean, we've said this before, where we know with you all, just where we talk about slouch. It's not that people won't think that you're formal. It's the fact that whether people will think you're approachable, right? So it's like, even if, like, preppy isn't a bad thing, but people will still think you're preppy regardless, right?
Yeah,
it'll still
isn't.
happen.
It isn't. But
Yeah.
and I agree with you, Ethan, that I think a blazer will signify to most of the general population just preppy. This guy's a prep. This guy's a prep.
And you can do
do
the best you can to subvert it, but I mean, I can't help if someone else is going to think that, and I definitely think people are going to think that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're not saying the general
the
public
prep
is right
bitch.
in thinking that it's inherently preppy garments, and we don't think so, but that's what they're going to think, and we accepted that.
right.
That's my feedback anyway.
Okay, so number 30. You won't find boat shoes and a cheesy club motif tie here, although I'd be intrigued to see if one of them could pull it off. I get that I get that Ethan and I live in different worlds, but in the one I live in,
you should not have this essay at all. It should not. There's no reason why this needs to exist.
Yeah, he's saying that he'd get weird looks for wearing anything that Ethan's wearing, and no one would think to look twice at boat shoes. Man, I should show Berkeley the meme about the Asian guy with the undercut wearing boat shoes with the print shirt and the khaki shorts. Man, I feel like, yeah. Boat shoes are boring mainstream shoes. I mean, yeah, but man, TikTok will tell you girls don't want boat shoes, man. Like that's.
Girls
don't
want boat shoes.
They
want
that'll
dudes
happen.
with boats.
Yeah, I mean, this my sentence is also just a joke sentence anyway. It's not even a serious sentence. Number 31.
Not
it's
Barkley. It's deadly serious. Everything you've ever said. It's just
the next one is that
how much flies over his head. I understand where he's coming from, but man, you are missing a lot of things. You're missing a lot of nuance.
The whole thing is a joke, right? Number 31 says that I say that these men know how ridiculous they are, but they're wearing them seriously. I think we're in agreement about how. They're wearing these pants that are just crazy, but they're not crazy at the same time.
Crazy pants.
I like this. I like this part at the end of it. After all this time, we've ended up right back where we started. Nothing has been subverted. Nothing has been inverted, unless you go through the turnstile. We've just made something pretty confusing for a while, then restored the status quo. Man, Spencer, I think you should listen. I think you should listen to the podcast because at the end of the past 10 episodes, we go, and it looks like we didn't solve anything. Don't listen to this. Like it doesn't. Nothing matters. That's literally what happens every discussion, and we do it. Who knows why? We do it just because.
Who knows?
Who knows?
We wrote a whole thing about Bob Benson, apparently.
I love that last sentence because in it he subconsciously understands his entire MO. It seems in arguing this sort of argument. Nothing's been subverted. Nothing's been inverted. We've just made something pretty confusing for about an hour, and then we're going to restore the status quo hopefully soon.
Yep, that's it. I mean, I didn't.
Point, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna read number 32 in its entirety because it's probably the biggest thing here. So Jonathan says,
"I bitch." It's weird.
It just says, Ethan, you punk ass bitch.
You punk ass.
Number 32. I want to close this by acknowledging that Ethan doesn't see himself as a rule maker and he doesn't want to be an authority. Something he reiterated in a DM to me when I let him know that this thing about I was putting together. Man, you posted it. Like it was when it was done. That's fine. I would have been fine if you posted this even without telling me, but I appreciate it. I mean, it's fine. I think this is fun.
Don't give him ideas. He's gonna do that next time.
Oh man, he's gonna annotate everything. You know, I'm surprised he hasn't done one on like the OCBD. I'm sure he almost did about that whole. I'm sure he could find plenty of issues with that one. But I'm gonna annotate him here. I like that he put that, but then if he knows that I'm doing this, I think he should also know that this blog is not a step-by-step blog. I think it's weird to make this point that I have said openly that I'm not an authority and I don't want to be. It's not a rule thing to follow. So looking at it that way, as if I am trying to say that, doesn't make sense to me. So he says that this is a piece about rules, about orthodoxy, about hegemony, and about authority. Kind of, yeah. Ethan may not consider himself an advanced dresser, but he considers the concept valid. He may not consider himself an authority, but he seems to consider others to be. So while Ethan pushes back on the prescriptive rules about authority and tells people what to wear and how to wear it, he's also reinforcing the same concept every time he talks about button pocket harmony or slouch or whatever it may be. Food for thought. Keep doing you, Ethan. Before I let you go, before I let you do that, I just want to say, I don't think I'm advocating to tear down the old world order. I think you can push back, because if this authority stuff didn't exist, I wouldn't have anything to push back against, right? Like if people didn't have these connotations, I wouldn't have anything to do. I don't think that they have to be done away with. I mean, I don't know how menswear would survive without it, right? Like Spencer, I've talked about this where I don't think people are going to ever be able to look at a sport coat and say, "Oh, that is a jacket with lapels with 3 buttons." I don't think it'll ever get there, just because the connotations to menswear are just too strong throughout Western society. You know, it would be great, but I don't know. So I do think, like, I don't think that I have to. I don't think it's bad that I think authority exists. I also don't think that I consider Tony Sylvester and Ethan Newton as authorities, because they don't give me rules on how to wear something. I am inferring from them what I think is a good way to wear something.
No
it's
one
just an
has
example.
authority over me.
Yeah. It's just a weird thing to kind of think about, because Berkeley is pushing this agenda that most menswear writing and talking about other menswear people assumes that there is a step-by-step process, where I don't believe that. I hope I don't come across that way in my writing or how I am. Maybe we might have elements of it where we suggest ideas on how something works, but I think I can't speak for Spencer and I, but I don't think that we necessarily think of it as a step-by-step. No. Our opinion matters more than yours. Mark Cho, we should listen to Mark Cho, we should listen to Ethan Newton. I think we can look at them and get ideas from them, but that doesn't mean that they are inherently better. And I've talked to this about all this too, where I don't think I'm a better dressed person than anyone else. I just think I am better to the person in my own head. I am trying to be I'm trying to fight against whatever that is and try and be the person that I envision myself.
I don't really
be effective.
I don't really want everyone to dress like me. I like that, I look a little bit different than most people, and also I get mad when people like the same clothes I do, because it makes my clothes more expensive. So that's why I'm mad at all these selfish TikTok teens who are apparently getting into vintage workwear now. I'm like, no, this is my thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a good.
We've sort of gotten tangled. Yeah, as you mentioned, Ethan, we've sort of gotten tangled, you and I, in the past about this idea. You remember way back when there was that French guy who thought you were being a dick essentially, and just sort of stormed off in a huff.
I'm sorry. You mean the guy who got upset that I used the word centrist like 3 times in an essay?
Yeah, that guy. But then we moved on to different arguments afterwards, and we talked about that. It's the idea of, do you have a authority or not? I suppose, Ethan. And I know that's not your intention, but we did have a debate before whether it really matters whether your intention is not to be authoritative or not. If you have a platform, does having some sort of prominence or assuming a position of expertise just by itself make you sort of authoritative, even if you aren't speaking with the intention of telling that person what to do, just by having more knowledge. And it's sort of, it hung me up a bit, and it's hanging up Berkeley even more, I think, because he's again calling out for being contradicting yourself, not liking rules, but by writing the blog you're telling people rules. But that's not what you wanted to do. But I can see why people would read into it like that, but that's not what Ethan wants.
Well, I mean, this is why I wrote that essay, which is going to come out in a couple of weeks, about who I think the blog is for. I don't think we're going to have a stream on that, because that's just me talking. But I'll answer it here. It's honestly, if you think that way, the blog isn't for you. I think it's a very like self-curation thing, and it's not bad. I mean, it's just by design. If you are finding issue with this, or even the podcast, or what we talk about on the stream, it's just, it's not our fault, and we're not trying to evangelize in that way. It would, I think, Spencer and I and MJ, we talked like it would be nice if people thought the way we do, but it's just impossible to like fully convince people for these reasons. People are going to find these weird contradictions, where we have a bunch of our deal breakers or things that we don't do, right? Like Kiyoshi doesn't wear high-rise trousers, and the blog literally and the podcast talks about how much we love it. Is the fact that we include him on here a contradiction? Yes, because we don't think that high-rise trousers are inherently the only choice. If you look at the content we do, it is. But I don't think that we are much more of an authority than Kiyoshi. I think if someone comes in here, they should be able to listen to both and discern which one works for them. Right. The argument could be made that I have a, quote, louder digital presence because Kiyoshi doesn't do a podcast. Kiyoshi doesn't use social media as much or whatever. Just like Spencer's idea. Spencer doesn't wear tailoring as much as I do. He doesn't have the same hang-ups about jacket length. So naturally, when I write about that kind of stuff, it's going to sound like that's more important than Spencer's thing. But in reality, Spencer is an equal person in the whole thing. The difference is that
Spencer's the
difference is that A Little Bit of Rest is my blog, and the blog posts are my interpretation of the discussion Spencer and I make on the podcast. So it's like, if you really want to learn more and get more nuance, it's important for these people to come on the streams or be in the chat or listen to the podcast. Otherwise, you're only going to listen to me on the blog and my Instagram. And there is way more stuff out there. If you're falling into that trap of thinking about things in terms of like authority, if you're only looking at permanent style, if you're only looking to put this on, you're going to fall into that trap. And I don't think that you should do that. I think that you should have the self-awareness to look everywhere else. And if you're trying to analyze that from that standpoint, then you've already lost the game too. You're already coming at it from a totally different standpoint than what is supposed to happen. Excuse me. I think it's fine to analyze the whole thing. I think Berkeley brings up some great stuff that I can consider, how to frame stuff in the future.
Logically sound, I think. And he has valid points on your grammar. My issue is it necessary to really bring it up? Does Ethan really need changes? He's not writing a dissertation after all. But he has valid points. So for all we've sort of shit on him in the course of this hour, we don't. It's not all vitriol from our end. We do think you are logically sound, and you make excellent arguments, and we don't question your authority when it comes to the history of Ivy Craig.
You should, man. You should definitely question. I'm pretty sure Spencer and I get stuff wrong all the time. I'm pretty sure we don't. I think it's fine.
I mean, no one's without fault, but we do respect his authority and his research, the research that he's put into studying this particular style.
At the end of the day, I totally get it. I mean, it's the same thing. I think what Berkeley would be interesting to know is why Berkeley started his newsletter, right? I think that's kind of probably the same vein, where it's just, these things are just an exercise. I think that Berkeley's essays are not meant to be, unless he's trying to. I can't say for sure, but his stuff, his content isn't for everyone. Right? Like, that's the whole point. Like, his photos of yearbooks isn't for everyone. Unless he was trying to find a way to like, okay, well, if his whole thing was to find examples of every menswear thing out there and find it in a yearbook, there is that. I mean, that's a cool endeavor to do, I think. But what this stuff doesn't take into account is just straight up narcissism and arrogance, where sometimes you just write just because, and you put it out there just because. It doesn't have to be accessible. It doesn't even have to make sense. Sometimes you just gotta do. I mean, there are literal TikToks that mean nothing. There are YouTube videos. There's one of the first videos I made ever on YouTube is called like James Bond at church, and it's just Vincent following me around with a camera while I pretend to be James Bond, but you can't hear anything. I'm just using finger guns and shooting my friends running around the church. What's the point of that video? There is no point.
Nobody knows.
But I put it on YouTube.
The first YouTube video I ever made, which is called My Day at the Zoo, and it's just my friend making a really funny joke in front of the elephants.
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the whole. I mean,
Ethan needs to be acknowledged. Being the
I mean,
what you call yourself, arrogant. He just needs to be. Needs to be acknowledged, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe not.
I mean, again, I have been told this a while. Where like, would I still do what I do even if I didn't have the clout that I have? I would say yes. It's just something I do for fun. You could argue, well, the fact that I put it out there and I put it on my social media counts as effort. Like, why don't I just write letters to myself? I don't know. I want it to look cool. I don't know. Maybe there's a small part that wants other people to read it. And I'm sometimes, I mean, this essay, this annotated thing is good to know how other people read it. And I definitely think, if the goal inherently was to be more accessible, there are definitely good points to make here about making more logically sound decisions. But even then, by my self-admission, I'm not even logically sound. The whole thing sounds like I'm trying to convince myself that I like bold-colored pants. And it should read like that because it's still something I'm trying to figure out, right? Just because I write an article doesn't mean I've unlocked every potential. Just because I have a cotton suit doesn't mean I wear the cotton suit with everything now. I still try and think about ways to make it work for me. Just like the way Spencer doesn't wear his raw hem pants, distressed jeans with everything. I'm sure Spencer still has some apprehensions about wearing some of those things, depending on the outfit that it's worn with. Me, this whole thing that I just said is the blog. It's me trying to figure that stuff out. And the bold colored pants is a good example of it. In fact, it might be the best one because it's so different than what I normally do. And that's why it is probably one of the more loose essays that I've done. And I've also said I don't like writing about stuff like that, honestly. I found in the past year that writing about specific clothing moves is the hardest thing to kind of put to words. Like, I don't know how to say wear the beret because at this point I've worn the beret with everything: graphic t-shirts, suits, sport coats, whatever, chore coats. And it's like, how do I put all of that on paper? It's so loose. It's such a generic. It's not just generic, but it's so intentional because, like, to me, a beret can be worn with anything, but it technically points to something. It's such a weird thing, and that's how. The more I think about it, the more every kind of menswear is, right? Spencer has cap mocks, cap mocks look like boat shoes. So you might be signaling that, and maybe in your head, you're signaling that to yourself, even if other people might not notice it. And putting all the stuff into paper, putting all the stuff into the blog, into the podcast is what we do. We if you're looking at the answers, we don't have anything because at the end of the day, Spencer and I, MJ, when we finish a podcast episode, we realize we didn't say fucking anything, man. We just talked for an hour, and hopefully people like it. But that's just what it is. And Berkeley, I want to say thank you for doing this, and thank you for letting me respond to it. Again, open invitation if you ever want to come on here. We don't have to debate. We can just talk about fun things. I know we'd share a lot of the same views on certain things.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a lot of fun.
But it would be great. Again, thank you. This is not supposed to be like this hopefully wasn't a mean thing to do. I don't think that he was being mean-spirited in what he did, what he sent to me. I think he wants me to be a better writer, which is nice from an English teacher. But yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this little, response to Berkeley. If you guys haven't, I think you guys should check out his his website, berkeleybreathes.substack.com. He should write more stuff like this. I would love if he analyzed other people's work like this. I think it would be fun to read that. But if not, you can check out his Instagram, Berkeley Breathes, because I think it truly is one of the best examples of regular people wearing just cool clothing. I have asked him repeatedly for, and he's obliged me for examples of certain things, like where people wearing clothes practically. He submitted some pictures of guys putting like their textbooks in their jacket pockets and everything. I think it's really great that he also gets that you should wear clothes and just kind of just have regular life in those things.